Hey everybody, movie viewer next door here, and more technical difficulties. My headphone jack has stopped working on my new laptop. Great. So I guess I can't use headphones with this laptop for the time being, so I guess I'll wait until I can return it so that I can get a laptop that actually works worth a shit. Yay. But yeah, today I watched Badass. This film was from 2012. Directed by Craig Moss, and it stars Danny Trejo, Charles S. Dutton, Ron Perlman, Joyful Drake, and Patrick Fabian. In this film, decorated Vietnam hero Frank Vega returns home only to get shunned by society, leaving him without a job or his high school sweetheart. It's not until 40 years later when an incident on a commuter bus makes him a local hero where he's suddenly celebrated once again. But his good fortune suddenly turns for the worse when his best friend is murdered and the police aren't doing anything about it. So, what do I think of Badass? Well, I first saw this film on Prime Video. All three of them were on Prime. Um, and it was around the time where I was just watching movies just to watch them. I wasn't like rating them or reviewing them or anything. Second time I watched it, I rated it. At this time, I was just like, fuck it, I want to watch these movies again because I remembered having such a fun time, especially with the first and third ones. And yeah, I really like this first one. Um, it might be a bit on the dramatic side or melodramatic side at times, especially the opening where Danny Trejo's character explains like his backstory and about the Vietnam War and how he lost his childhood sweetheart. Um, he couldn't get a job, so he started like a hot dog stand. Um, but like, yeah, other than like that and the friends and family members that he loses and all that, this is just a fun as this is just a fucking fun film. It really is. Excuse me. Let me get to the cast. Danny Trejo is Frank Vega, again, decorated Vietnam War hero. Uh, he does a great job in this role. I don't think if anybody reviews this film and says that he's not good in this role, I feel like they don't have a heart because I felt for this character immediately. I liked how whoever wrote the character well. Danny Trejo is believable in the fight scenes, and they don't try to overdo the fight scenes in this. They try to keep it semi-realistic. But yeah, Charles S. Dutton as Panther, he's the main villain. It was nice to see Charles S. Dutton doing something a bit different. He has played villains before, but it was nice to see him in this type of role where he's kind of a gangster. Uh, he has some good lines. He has some good deliveries. Um, Ron Perlman as Mayor Williams. He's not really in the film much. He's a crooked mayor that's trying to like drive people out of the city by creating more crime. That's why Panther is involved. He has like gangs that are like going around the city, like trying to drive people out so they can put like oil pipelines where the houses used to be. Um, but he's fine. Joyful Drake as Amber Lamps. She's a neighbor. She's Frank Vega's neighbor. Um, and Frank ends up like helping get rid of her abusive husband and they become kind of an item. And they don't do it in this film in a way where it feels creepy because of the massive age difference between the two. It feels actually endearing and kind of sweet. But yeah, and she was fun to watch. I've never seen her in anything else. Apparently she was in Beauty Shop, Get Him to the Greek. Yeah, she's been in films. Um, but yeah, and Patrick Fabian as Officer Malark. He's a police officer that Frank Vega's friends with. He's fine. He's not in the film much. He's been in other films before. I remembered him from the Twitches films. He was his character's name was Santos. Yeah. I did recognize him. But yeah. This is a film, if you're not into the concept, you're not gonna like it. If you can't if you're one of those people that like goes to like Sundance Film Festival or Con or I don't know, any of those other like bougie ass like film festivals that are only showing like artsy shit and that's all you like, you're not gonna like this film. And I don't expect you to, because you don't know how to have fun. I know that might sound a bit mean, but those people know what they're doing. They think that they're smarter than everybody else just because they watched a film that not everybody can get into, which pretty demeaning, if you ask me. But with this film, this is just a fun fucking movie. It really is. Um, on Letterboxd, the ratings of the films go up as they go along because there's three films in the series. The second one has like a 2.8 and the third one has a 2.9. This one has a 2.5. I think that is a little bit low, but I can understand it. It's not everybody's thing, I guess. But yeah, like I haven't seen like a ton of films starring Danny Trejo. The only one I can think of is Machete. Maybe I just need to watch it again. I just wasn't into it the first time I saw it. I should have been into it, but yeah, just that's what this film is basically just there was a viral video that went around in like 2010, 2011 of this guy like say there was like some guy got in an altercation with him on the bus and he beat the shit out of him. And yeah, basically this is an entire movie based on a or entire movie series based on a viral video, which hey, it's interesting concept. It's nice to see movies based on true events in some way, even though this film like everything that happens in this film past that is completely fabricated. This film doesn't try to act like it's a based on true events thing. It doesn't say that on the poster and any of the marketing. It's just trying to be a fun, like watch it on a rainy evening type of movie. That's exactly what it's trying to do. And my whole rating system is rating something on what it's trying to do. And yeah, I think this film is very entertaining. I like the performances for the most part. Um, and this is a pretty interesting cast. Like, not even just the main actors, but there's a lot of like cameos or small roles that I did recognize the actors. There's Winter Abzoli, who was in um she was in Sons of Anarchy. And there's also, funnily enough, Patricia De Leon, who I have seen in a film. She was in Your Move. She was fine in that. She's okay here. Um, she was in Mayans MC, which was the spin-off show of Sons of Anarchy. You also got Richard Rela as the priest, which he's been in like over 200 movies. Everybody knows him. Um, Danny Woodburn. Here it lists his character's name as Sluggy Cornnuts, but he's like a little person actor you see in like a million different things. If it's not Vern Troyer or, well, I mean Vern Troyer died, but if it's not Vern Troyer or freaking whatever, you know what I mean. If it's not Vern Troyer or Tony Cox, it's Danny Woodburn. And Danny Woodburn's been in some of Craig Moss's other films. Craig Sheffer also has a small cameo as an attorney. Um, but yeah, this is one of those movies where you just watch it and you're like, oh shit. There's somebody I remember. Jennifer Blank is there for a half a second, who was in Everly, which is a film I really recommend. I have the Blu-ray over there. Uh, Joe Lynch is a fantastic director. I love him. Um, but yeah, uh, not sure what else what much I can say about this, because again, like the last film, I don't have a ton to say about it. I usually seem to have more to say about movies I hate, and I haven't watched a ton that I've hated recently. But yeah, it's a film that, yeah, it does take I won't even say it takes a bit to get going, because like multiple characters die throughout the first bit of this film, or characters get separated from each other, and it does take a little bit to get into what you're expecting out of this type of movie, which is the action and the kind of quippy dialogue, which it does have that near the beginning. If there's one thing I can say about this film, it does hammer things home a bit too much at times. Um, Especially like the situations of the characters, like them living in these slums, and there is literally a character who comes out and says the cops don't care about us and all that, and I'm like, that I don't think that's the issue. I think it's mostly that governments seem to not, in general, governments, I don't even think it's the cops. I think it's in general, governments don't care about these smaller places. Like, look at Chicago, look at Detroit. Like, the governors in those areas and mayors in those areas just seem to not give a shit anymore. Like, they're not even trying. I'm not trying to go on a rant or anything. I'm just saying this film does mix up things a little bit in that respect. Um, it doesn't drill it in your head like throughout the movie, though. It's just a man who's like, okay, I finally found a purpose. It's cleaning up the crime in this town. And it's a pretty interesting way of doing that type of plot. There's also, again, commentary on like the Vietnam War, which it is true. Vietnam veterans were treated like shit when they came home, because there were a lot of people who protested the Vietnam War, and a lot of those people would not give people jobs because they were like, oh, you were in the Vietnam War, you're unfit. They'd immediately say shit like that. Um, but yeah, like it's in that respect, I understand where the movie's coming from, because that is a thing that happened. But yeah, like there's a really cute dog in this. I don't know if it's Danny Trejo's actual dog or something. There's like a scene of him with the dog. His name's Baxter. The actual dog's name is Baxter, so I'm guessing it's his. Um, where he's just like eating a like Hungry Man like frozen dinner, and he like gives the dog a bit of food off of his fork. Like I'll have to look it up, but if that's Danny Trejo's actual dog, that's adorable. Um, but yeah, like again, not a ton I'm gonna have to say about this. I do recommend people watch it. You can rent it on Prime. I found it somewhere else. Um, but yeah, it's a fun movie with an actually enjoyable story. I think this film, again, when I say like it's not perfect, I mean like there are bits of like CGI blood that don't look the greatest. It doesn't really stick out so much. This is an indie film. This is an independently made film. It's Samuel Goldwyn Pictures, same company that released Accident Man, a lot of Jesse B. Johnson films. There's a lot of interesting ones that they've released, uh, for sure. But yeah, other than that, and like the story, the beginning is needed setup for the film. It's not like I'm saying, oh, it's boring because they have all these characters dying and shit. That's not what I'm saying. I just wish that there's just something in me that wanted it to go a bit faster. And from what I remember, the sequels get into, the whole action part of it and comedy part of it a bit faster. So I guess I'll look forward to seeing those again. I think I'll watch the second one tonight. We'll see. But yeah, Um, hopefully, th- sorry if y'all hear stuff, but like, yeah, I think people should watch it, and I think they'll enjoy it if they know what they're getting into. So, um, pros again, Danny Trejo. The acting for the most part from the main actors is pretty good. So, Danny Trejo, Charles S. Dutton, Ron Perlman, Joyful Drake, Patrick Fabian. Pretty decent direction, some interesting shots at times, some fun editing. Um, the score is fine. Um, there's a theme song to this called Badass. That's kind of bad, kind of good. It's very interesting. Um, cons, again, the CGI blood isn't the greatest. Um, kind of looks like red dust at times. It's very weird. Um, Also with the action, another pro, there's a fun like bus chase, like Danny Trejo and Charles Dutton get in different buses and start chasing each other, and it's actually a lot of fun. It was nice to see something like that. Um, Another con, I wish it kind of got into the meat of the film a bit faster, but still. Um, Hope y'all enjoyed my review of Badass. If you liked the video, uh, like, comment, subscribe, whatever, and Movie Reviewer Next Door out.